Hello, everybody, and welcome to this astrological update with your friend Gretchen Heidel, full-time astrologer, life coach, Reiki master, and so much more. I am here going over a little chunk or a bubble of time here in July of 2024. There's a lot of things happening in the next few days, and I wanted to jump on, create a video for you guys because I know that you've been missing them. You guys have been wonderful and reaching out and telling me that you miss my videos, and that means a lot to me. I was taking a little bit of a hiatus and summer break. I didn't realize how much of a break I needed, but that's kind of what happened. But boy, oh boy, there is a lot of astrological energy going on right now. There's a lot of things happening. Well, in case you haven't heard, and I wanted to kind of come on because I feel like there's just so much going on, and I have a lot of people, like I said, reaching out. So if this is your very first time joining me, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And if you're a longtime loyal subscriber, I also really appreciate you as well. So I'm just going to jump in. We have a lot of energy going on here in kind of the last week or so. I'm not even doing that format of a whole week. I'm just going to kind of talk about this chunk or this bubble of energies that are happening. We have Mars moving into Gemini. We have the full moon. We have a whole bunch of Pluto things happening. And then we have the start of Leo season. So I'm going to be going over all of that. And that's going to be like 4 or 5 days worth of stuff, but it's going to be very, very going out beyond even those 4 days. So again, welcome if you're just joining, and I'm going to just dive right in with the fact that we are officially in Mercury retrograde pre-shadow on the 16th of July. Mercury entered the pre-shadow period where Mercury is getting ready to go retrograde, and we're now in that pre-shadow time. So in case you haven't watched the news, or you maybe you have seen on the news where all of the airlines are grounded and Microsoft had a big, sort of outage, and there's been all kinds of like wonky things happening. That's why we're coming into the pre-shadow, and it's been pretty intense. So this is where I always tell people, once we get into the pre-shadow time, you don't have to start all the Mercury retrograde stuff as far as like following the rules of Mercury retrograde, but just have awareness. It's almost like before a storm comes and all of a sudden the wind picks up and the sky gets dark, and maybe you should like bring in your lawn chairs or, your laundry or whatever thing you got going on to get ready for the storm, close your windows and things like that. That's what it's like, okay, when we're in the pre-shadow time. Mercury is going to start the retrograde period on August 5th, 2024 at 12:56 a.m. Eastern time. So earlier than that, plus or minus wherever you're located in the world. We're getting into that time, and then it's going to be retrograde for almost the full month of August until August 28th. And so we're going to have that to look forward to in the month of August. We are moving into that pre-retrograde. And like I said, you might start feeling the wonkiness and the bumps in the road and things like that, miscommunications. And, all of a sudden the cell phone starts getting glitchy. That is why, because we're in the pre-shadow. So we're getting ready. So this is a good time, actually, if you're going to back up your cell phone or, do some kind of maintenance on your laptop or whatever thing it is you do, that would be a good time to do it. And start checking things off the list that you want to accomplish before the retrograde starts. And then that you'll be good to go. But just so we're getting into that bubble of time that we should start really doing some things and accomplishing the things that you want to start and do before the actual retrograde begins. Okay, so speaking of Mercury, Mars is going to be moving into the astrological sign of Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So this is going to be happening on Saturday, July 20th at 4:43 p.m. Eastern time. So again, plus or minus wherever you're located in the world. Mars moving into Gemini. Well, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. It's the sign of the twins. Okay, that's what the nickname of Gemini is. And it's all about all the Mercury stuff, which is communicating and sort of, traveling and short trips and, all those types of things. Is what Gemini is all about. So this particular Mars is going to have a mercurial feel to it. Mars is how we act, our aggression, our motivation, our ambition. Like it's kind of our chutzpah and how we, kind of get rolling. So this is going to all of a sudden be communicating at hyper speed. We're going to get news and we're going to get, text messages and emails. And it's going to potentially be a little overwhelming with the rate of speed that communication is happening. There is bound to be mistakes in communication. There's bound to be potential, spread of misinformation. There's going to be a lot of that type of stuff going on. So really make sure that you fact check, before you sort of spread the news, because there's just going to be this like desire to kind of like, keep the conversation going. So make sure that you take a pause for a minute and just sort of breathe, relax, kind of calm your nervous system. This is a very different Mars sign than what we've been going through in the last month and a half with Mars and Taurus, which is a little bit more slow, a little bit more methodical, definitely ruled by Venus, the goddess of love and beauty. Now we're all about talking. We're all about communicating. We're all about potentially traveling, getting around, and how we're going to be, moving through the world. And that's going to just double down on this Mercury retrograde stuff potentially. Mars being the god of war can be a little aggressive style, of communicating potentially with this Mercury Mars situation going on. We have to watch because we could get a little bit more edgy, a little bit more aggressive, potentially argumentative with Mars in this communication style. So we want to be careful of that and make sure again that we just sort of slow down, that we ask questions, that we're a little bit more patient. And remember, part of communicating is also listening. And so slowing down, asking questions, and listening are all really good things to do. I always say Mars has this like kind of tipping point where at first it's kind of like having like a double shot of espresso and you're like zoomy and you feel, there's a lot of energy with it. And then all of a sudden it can tip into grumpy pants or cranky pants, and it gets a little too much, and then it's like, and then you get, it's just so much coming at us. So with Mars being in Gemini, Mars can be sometimes inflammation. Gemini is the hands, the wrists, the arms, going all the way up to the shoulders. So we just have to watch that, especially if you have any pre-existing injuries in those areas. That can be a little bit of inflammation in that department. And also Gemini is the lungs. So we want to make sure it's the hands, wrists, arms, and shoulders, and the lungs. So we want to just make sure that we're, being mindful of those areas. And again, if you have any problem with like asthma, emphysema, COPD, anything like that, you want to, be careful. Make sure you grab your inhaler before you leave the house. Just different things like that during this Mars Gemini cycle. But if you are normally shy, if you're somebody who has a trouble kind of talking or standing up for yourself or advocating for yourself, this could be wonderful for you, and could really help you to kind of communicate. But if you are already a Gemini, again, you'll get this like infusion of energy, but again, it could tip into being a little too much energy. And then it's like, wait a minute, we got to slow down. Gemini / Mercury really also can affect our nervous systems, and it can make us feel very ungrounded if we're not careful, because we're kind of up, in the ethers, like talking and bouncing ideas. It's a very heady Mars. This is all about getting that information out there, potentially spreading misinformation, lies, or gossip as well. So again, we have to really fact check and double check where our sources are coming from. And so that, because it's going to spread like wildfire. That's sort of the problem. But this is a good time if you need to check things off your list, return text, you have a big pile of emails, you have a big, whatever, you really need to give a presentation or a sales pitch or write a book or any kind of thing with writing, speaking, orating, whatever, singing, even getting out there. That could all be good stuff for you. And this could really help you sort of check off those checklists and This could also be good for negotiation, by the way, because again, it's that back and forth and kind of like, well, how about will you accept this and will you accept that, and kind of going back and forth. So that could even be good too. If you're a Sagittarius, you'll feel this by opposition help you to have. If you're Sag, you could get a little boost of energy. You might get stressed or pressured if you are a Virgo or a Pisces. This could be some fighting energy. You're going to need to maybe fight or self-advocate and things like that with this Mars in Gemini sort of transit. If you're any one of the air signs, if you have Libra or Aquarius in your chart, this could really be helpful to you. This is helpful energy. Again, Mars gets stuff done. So if you have a list and you need to check things off, this could really help you. It's just that, like I said, we have to remember that Mars is the god of war, and sometimes things happen when Mars is active. So speaking of Mars being active, we're now going to be in a zone or a bubble with a lot of Mars activity. So other than Saturday with Mars moving into Gemini on July 20th, we also have Mars in the morning earlier before it moves into Gemini, when Mars is still in Taurus at the very last degree of Taurus. Mars is going to form a sextile with Neptune in Pisces. So Taurus and Pisces get along really well. This is a little bit sleepy energy. It's funny because this is almost the opposite of what I was just saying, with it being very hyper and kinetic later in the day when Mars moves into Gemini. But earlier in the day at 11:17 a.m. Eastern time, when Mars forms this beautiful sextile with Neptune, this could be about, really doing some creative things, about dreaming, being romantic, having a little bit of time off, maybe taking a nap, doing some yoga, stretching, meditation, praying, those types of things. That's a really nice, sextile between Mars and Neptune. We have an opportunity here to kind of get in touch with our spiritual side, get a little bit somewhat more grounded, in some ways. Take a little nap, before we get into this hyper, sort of speed, Mars and Gemini kind of thing. So that's happening on the morning of Saturday, and that's going to be active for, 4 or 5 days, just so that you know. But the peak of it, the height of it, the pinnacle of it is going to be on that Saturday. Take your nap when you can. Because the next day on Sunday, we have a full moon. And boy, oh boy, this full moon is fully loaded. Full loaded full moon. Okay, so, and we're going to be feeling this as we get closer to it. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday is the peak of it, the height of it, the pinnacle of it. This is going to be the full buck moon, and this is going to be occurring at 6:17 a.m. Eastern time, so 3:17 a.m. Pacific time if you're on the West Coast. This is 29 degrees Capricorn. The sun is going to be at the very end, 29 degrees of Cancer, and the moon is going to be 29 degrees Capricorn. Now, if this seems at all familiar to you and you remember, last month we had a full moon in Capricorn also. So the weird thing about this full moon is that it's the second full moon in a row in Capricorn. The last one happened on June 21st, and that was the strawberry moon. That was at 1 degree Capricorn, so that was the beginning of Capricorn. Now we're at the very, very final end, last degree of Capricorn. When we're at the end of the end of the end, this is really the end. Okay, so something is going to be finishing, wrapping up, completing, ending. There is been speculation, and I'm not I'm just a reporter here, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the politic sort of realm. But there has been talk about Biden ending his presidential, and we could very much hear that during this or around this full moon, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, something like that. We could hear about the ending of that, because this is an ending of an ending, because the full moon is ending, finishing, wrapping up, completing something. And then we're at the very last degree of, the Capricorn full moon, and that's ending something at the last degree of Capricorn. So where is Capricorn? The very last degree of Capricorn in your astrological chart. that you will know how that will affect you on a personal level. If you were born at the very last day of Capricorn or around that time of January 20th, 21st, 22nd, somewhere around there, I know that that also means that you're born maybe at the beginning of Aquarius. You will be feeling this because it's really right at the very, very end of Capricorn going into Aquarius time. But you will feel this especially. So we had 2 full moons, and this is like sort of 2 layers of ending something, or 2 layers of peaking, or 2 layers of something coming to a completion and wrapping up and finishing. And so now we have a second chance to do it again. If we didn't really fully wrap up something in Capricorn, we have another chance to do it. Now, I've talked about this before in my program, my channel. I'm not a whole sign astrologer, meaning that some astrologers kind of use that whole, like a whole sign is in a whole house. I don't do that. I use traditional astrology. And so that it could be taking place in a different house or area for you than the last full moon, because 1 degree and 29 degrees is very far apart. So for example, the first one occurred in my 5th house. The second one now is occurring in my 6th house. So you really have to look at your chart, your astrological chart, to see how that would affect you on a personal level. But that's going to be the last degree of Capricorn, and something is wrapping up. Now, if you don't even know what your chart's like, or, whatever, think about how you feel during Capricorn season at the end of January, around those dates that I just gave of January. How do you feel? How do you feel about Capricorns in your life? Do you enjoy the energy of Capricorn? Is it grounding for you, or is it chaotic for you? Whatever it may be. And this will give you a little hint as to how you will experience that on a personal level. Capricorn is an earth sign. It is grounded, it's pragmatic, it's practical, and it's about setting up structures and different things. But we are seeing structures going crazy right now. Structures are being very, very, very tested. One of the reasons why they're being so tested is because we are really still in the United States Pluto return. Pluto, one last time, the final time in our lifetimes collective. Nobody on this planet is ever going to see Pluto being in Capricorn again. And it's going to be happening again. Pluto is going into Capricorn at the very beginning of September 1st until about, I think it's roughly November 19th. And that's the last time Pluto is going to be in Capricorn. Now, if you guys ever saw my video in reference to the United States Pluto return, it's on my channel and on YouTube somewhere, but it's basically, we're at the very end of this sort of, the heart, I'll say the heart of the cycle. This is a long cycle, many years long, but we are at the heart of it, and this is the very end of being at the heart of this particular cycle. And this can make or break nations. I mean, this Pluto return thing can really be powerful. Why am I talking about that? Because this full moon is intricately involved in it. So think about it. When Pluto returns to Capricorn, it's going to be at what? 29 degrees Capricorn. That's right. And this particular full moon is going to be conjunct Pluto on this day. It's going to be involved with Pluto. It'll be conjunct Pluto at 9:14 a.m. So, I mean, I just told you the full moon is at 6:17 a.m. and now 9:14 a.m. It's going to be conjunct Pluto. It's also going to be forming a trine with Mars. Now, Mars and Pluto are going to be forming a trine on the full moon. Woo, that's powerful. So I just told you Mars is in Gemini, and Pluto is really at the very, 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 very beginning, about to go back into Capricorn it's right now, it's at the beginning of Aquarius. So they're forming a trine, which is positive. Yes, that's positive, but there's so much energy behind this full moon. There is literally no way to give like a blanket statement prediction, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to list off, okay, first of all, it's going to form like just 6 different aspects, the moon itself on that day. And then Venus is going to form a sextile with Jupiter. Okay. That's going to be happening at 4:43 p.m. on the day of the full moon. The next thing is Mercury is going to form a square with Uranus. So we're going to hear some unexpected news. Something's going to happen. I mean, the Venus sextile Jupiter thing, that could be really positive actually. But this Mercury square Uranus, it's almost like everything's going fine until someone puts their foot in their mouth, or we hear some unexpected news, or some unexpected thing is going to happen out of this whole thing. Then we have the sun forming a trine with Neptune. That's going to be confusing a little bit. Yes, it could be dreamy, but it's also going to be like confusing as well. Is this like real? Is this a fantasy? I don't even know what's happening. And then we're going to have Mars forming a trine with Pluto. Now, that out of all of the transits, other than the full moon transit, Mars trine Pluto is really the bigger one. That's going to be active for at least a week or so. The peak of it, the pinnacle of it, the maximum of it is going to be at 11:48 p.m. on that day in the evening. And that's, but the full moon is going to be aspecting both of them. It's going to be, conjuncting Pluto and aspecting Mars. So this full moon's hooking into that Mars trine Pluto. And remember what I always say, watch the players, right? So Mars can be aggression. It's going to be all about talking and communicating because it just went in Gemini. And then we have Pluto, the change, that's creating change. It's really transformation. Pluto is transformation. Phoenix rising, something burns down to the ground and then something rises up after it, out of all of the astrological planets and different, bodies that we use, one of the harshest is Pluto. Pluto can be loss and, because remember, it's Phoenix rising, it's death, and then something rises up out of that, out of the ashes. And Mars can be the god of war, and those two coming together, it's a positive, it's a trine, but remember the players, the players are both kind of the nasties, Mars and Pluto. They can really, when they get going together, things can feel a little dark and feel bleak and feel very, whatever. Now, the positive side of it is that it is a tremendous wave of power, The word power, whenever I say power to people, that really has a connotation. Sometimes it's like, okay, is that good power or is that bad power? The word power has a lot of connotation with it. So having those two, it's just gonna be power, powerful. And so there's gonna be a lot of power behind this. Now, it's interesting because Neptune's gonna be involved, which can make us sleepy, but then on the other hand, this could be quite rambunctious. This could be very sexual. This could be very much about needing to exercise, needing to get out, needing to take a walk, having a lot of pent up energy is not good for this at all. And so hopefully we will not hear of any crazy things on the news as far as like violence and things like that, but it's very possible. And the other reason why it's very possible is because if we fast forward to Tuesday, we have the sun forming an opposition with Pluto. That's a lot of power. There's a lot of Pluto stuff and Mars stuff going on this weekend, getting into the beginning of next week. So we really got to tread lightly. I'm saying all this stuff about communicating, but we got to communicate with a feather, really lightly, okay? Because things are going to be quite volatile and could easily sort of unexpectedly spin out of control. And it's like, what do you mean? I just said have a good day. And it's like, but you said it with a tone, It's like one of those kind of times where it's like, that was just an innocent remark, I had talked on my very last video that I had just done on YouTube, where I had talked about how Pluto in general this month was going to be very active. There was going to be 3 power days for Pluto, where Pluto was going to be forming an opposition with 3 different planets on these 3 different dates. The first one was on July 3rd when Mercury opposed Pluto. The second one was July 12th when Venus opposed Pluto. And the next day, on July 13th, was the day that former President Donald Trump had an attempted assassination. And so if you think of Pluto, right, something goes down, it's like the whole thing. And I had predicted on that video that there was going to be a rise in gun violence. I wasn't quite expecting that it was going to be against Donald Trump, but I did say that on my video. And so now we have the sun forming an opposition with Pluto. Out of all of them, this one could be potentially one of the harshest ones. But anytime you get Pluto involved with anything, it could be a mess. It can be, it's jealousy, it's rage, it's obsession, it's getting like looking at the dark side. It's all that kind of stuff. It can be very, very fanatical. Pluto, because Pluto is the planet of extremes. So it's like really thinking about things in black and white terms and all that stuff. So we really have to watch this energy for sure. In between all of this, yes, we have the full moon. And by the way, that's a good time to burn or destroy our full moon manifestation list. Okay. And that's when you want to release things to the universe. We're releasing something, we're letting something go. Remember, this is the maximum, the peak of the energy of this particular cycle. By the way, the last new moon, which was 1/11/2024 in Capricorn, was the start of this cycle. And like I said, we're having 2 waves now of full moons in Capricorn. So that's really finishing that cycle for real now, like not just on paper. Now, the other thing that's interesting is because we have these 2 full moons, it's really setting us up for having a blue moon. So there's 2 definitions of blue moons. One is having two full moons in 1 month, and the other is having 4 full moons in a season. And that's what this is going to be. So this is not a full blue moon, but the next moon in August is going to be a blue moon. Now, I have talked and talked and talked, and I'll keep talking. I'll remind you again, just because I know that you guys like to look ahead, write things on the calendar, be informed or aware. August 19th is a really problematic day. It could be one of the most problematic days of 2024. It's really quite intense. There's a lot of things going on that day, including the full moon, which is also going to be a blue moon during that time. So you really want to write that on the calendar. And it's not just that day. It's like, leading up to it, the 16th, 17th, 18th, 9th, as we get close to the 19th, which is a Monday, by the way, that might be a good day to call out of work. If you watch this broadcast and if you have a contentious day, contentious time, even that weekend, like I said, leading into that could be quite contentious. So the thing in between these, the Pluto and all that stuff is on Monday, we start Leo season. So welcome to Leo season. If you are Leo on July 22nd, 2024 on Monday at 3:44 a.m. Eastern time. So 12:44 if you live in Pacific time. This is going to be the start of Leo season, and we're getting out of Cancer season, going into Leo season. And so, yay, congratulations. Happy birthday to all of you Leos out there. This is your time to shine. We come out of Cancer season. Cancer is all about feelings, emotions, home and family, domestic stuff. And now we are being asked to kind of put ourselves out there to shine. The Leo is ruled by the sun. So when the sun goes into Leo, it's super strong. It like kind of sort of supersizes the Leo sort of thing. And really August, end of July going into most of August is that time. It's the summertime. It's the time to shine. It's sunflowers. It's, beautiful sunsets, oranges and yellows and all that. That is actually the color of Leo, is that like that deep burnt orange color. It's beautiful. And that is the time to roar like a lion, to show off a little bit, to be audacious, to kind of put yourself out there, all those good things. If you are a Leo, or if you're another fire sign, Sagittarius or Aries, you will feel a little bump up usually during Leo season. If you're an air sign, that could also be true for you. Geminis and also Libras can get a bump up. Now, Aquarius, you're opposite of Leo, so Aquarius is kind of might feel a little challenged during this time. Sometimes you'll have to let me know in the comments below if you're an Aquarius, if you ever feel challenged during Leo season, because Leos and Aquariuses are opposite of each other. But whatever, we're here, we're meant to shine. Leo is the performer, the entrepreneur, kind of getting out there, a lot of royalty is associated with Leo. But this is the time to kind of get out there, put yourself out there, take a chance, take a risk, you know, be confident. Remember, it's the sun, it's solar power. So it's like really when we're supposed to be shining and kind of, you know, putting ourselves out there. So if you're shy, if you're somebody who has trouble with that, who has trouble with feeling confident, this can be really good for you, because it can really help to increase your confidence and really help you to, you know, get a little chutzpah and a little infusion, if you will, of some self-confidence. Leos are all about, you know, kind of making it big, like our friend J-Lo, Whitney Houston, Madonna, all those ladies, you know, are associated with Leo. There's a lot of very famous people associated with Leo. So welcome to Leo season. And I think that, you know, you should definitely maximize that if you can, because it's really good energy. And we will be in Leo season all the way up until August 22nd, 2024. That's when we move into Virgo season. So this is the time. This is the time to shine. And really put yourself out there to you know, perform, to kind of make a good impression. If you want to get a raise, do something in the public eye, if you always wanted to start a YouTube channel, whatever it is, this is the time to do that. Leo is associated with the heart. So this is a lot of heart energy. We've already had Mercury in Leo. We've already had now Venus in Leo. Now we have the sun in Leo, and that's going to increase our heart energy. Leo is associated with the heart, the literal heart in our body, the metaphoric heart, and also the spinal cord. So heart and spine are two big things, you know, and that's associated with that Leo energy. So we want to do things from our heart. This can be a very deeply creative and a deeply romantic, you know, if you think about, you know, getting swept off your feet or wanting to kind of have the big romance. Oh, that's Leo season for sure, you know, having the summer fling and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, we're going to do it with grand style. With Leo, you want to think everything is bigger, usually. You know, we want to supersize everything. We want to have everything be amazing and wonderful. That can be very associated with Leo, making a good impression, a grand entrance, if you will. That's all very, very Leo type stuff. So we are here in Leo season, yay. Time a planet enters the very first, you know, day of Leo. The problem is it's facing the opposition with Pluto, no matter what planet it is. So in this circumstance, on Tuesday, the 23rd at 1:38 a.m. Eastern time, so really overnight between the 22nd and 23rd, the sun is going to oppose Pluto. And that's not going to be very comfortable. That's not going to be very fun or nice or anything. So the very beginning of this next week here is going to be a little intense and a little difficult. And so you really want to watch when you're out there riding around in your car or confronting people at the store or whatever, you know, because there could be confrontations. That's the problem. We are probably going to hear about a rise in some way on the news of violence and maybe protesting or maybe something like that. And so this could be a little sketchy. So this is not the time to have a fun debate with your neighbor or whatever. It's not that time. It's the time to kind of just go, oh, okay, you know, great. And then just, you know, play nice. It's like we're playing with a hornet's nest here with this Tuesday energy, Monday getting into Tuesday energy with this Pluto opposition, and then Mars is going to be, you know, forming a trine with Pluto. That's a little too much Pluto energy, I'll just say. But remember, Pluto is very transformative. So if we want to harness the positive aspect of Pluto, it's about leaning into really big changes that are coming. There's a big wave of change. We're about to see a lot of change. There's changes in the air. So, and I do think that could even involve possibly Biden or Trump or whoever. You know, it kind of feels like there's a lot on the political arena. I'm gonna keep talking about this more and more. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pull some cards. What do we need to know about this full moon, about all of this energy for this chunk of time? And if this video helped you, if you found it to be useful, please forward it to a friend. I mean, share the knowledge, share the news, because that helps the channel, my YouTube channel as well. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so what do we need to know about this particular full moon? I'm going to use my Moonology cards. What do we need to know from the angels, the universe? What do we need to know? Oh my goodness, the cards were sticking. Okay, here we are. This is the full moon in Gemini card, and it's saying the answers you need are coming. Full moon in Gemini. Well, I already just said that Gemini is going to play, and Mercury are going to play a big role behind the scenes during all of this. The answers you need are coming. Well, we're going to probably be hearing a lot of different things, you know, as far as news, answers, communication, all kinds of things. So that could be good. And that could really help to put a period at the end of the sentence too, because remember, we're finishing up something, we're wrapping up something. So maybe we needed this information to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to pull from a different deck. This is my Sonia Choquette deck. What do we need to know about this energy? Okay. Oh, good. This is good news. I just had this one flipped. I didn't pull it, but I always say the universe pulled it. Count your blessings. Count your blessings. So what are you focusing on really? Like, are you focusing on the downtrodden, the things you can't control, the conspiracies, or like whatever? What are you focusing on? Or are you focusing on what you have, what you're going to have, the things that are going right in your life? Are you remembering to count those blessings? And that's what that card is all about. So I have two cards here. The answers you need are coming, and also count your blessings with this particular full moon, and Mars moving into Gemini, and also the sun moving into Leo, and also all of this Mars, Pluto, Neptune stuff. It's a lot. It is a lot of energy. So just make sure that you really ground yourself, that you're really taking good time for self-care. You might have to turn off the news and take a news fast. I do that very, very frequently, where I don't watch the news, because it's too much. It can be a little bit too much sometimes. And yeah, so make sure you keep an open mind and simultaneously ground yourself. There are some things to look forward to here, especially with that solar power Leo season, but this climate that we're in is a bit bumpy. So make sure you get prepared for that Mercury retrograde coming up on August 4th/5th. And I'll keep recording videos. I'm not totally done. I love that you guys reached out to me and encouraged me to make another one. So I appreciate it. If you want to have a personalized astrological session with me, please feel free to go to my website at GretchenHeidel.com. And I do readings over Zoom, so you can live literally anywhere in the world and have a reading done by me. Okay, I hope you guys all have a very happy second full moon in Capricorn. Namaste.